Some people think of their education like a ticket, getting them from point A to point B, from classroom to full-time work. However, I think about our education like a key that unlocks our intellects and the talents God has given us. Today I'm going to be talking about why LDS women in particular should view her education like a key and not a ticket. I met and married my husband here at BYU my freshman year at 19. For a lot of my peers, that's the perfect time to drop out of school, because I've met the man who's going to support me for the rest of my life. However, because I view my education like a key and I want to unlock my talents and intellect, I continue my education. And this is what I believe for all of the women in the room today. I'm going to be outlining 3 reasons why women should view their education like a key and not a ticket. This is going to be incredibly a valuable conversation for everyone in the room as BYU students, because it's your peers here at this university more than any other who have this misconception about education and God's plan for his women. The first reason is because a man is not a financial plan. Let's say a woman is successful in finding the man that she wants to marry while at BYU, but then there's an accident. Her husband becomes disabled. He dies in a car accident, or he suffers from unemployment. All of these things put an uneducated woman in a very uncomfortable position where she is forced to enter a workforce that she is unprepared for because she did not unlock those talents and intellects that education would have unlocked for her. According to the Utah Women Education Society, a woman who is educated is 27%, will earn 27% more than an uneducated woman. So by continuing your education and unlocking your intellects, you will be more likely to support your family should there be a tragedy. The second reason, I'll let Elder Uchtdorf, member of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles, introduce for us. He says, for members of the church, education is not merely a good idea. It is a commandment. And these commandments are not gender biased. Elder Oaks has said, we make no distinction between young men and young women in our conviction about the importance of an education. In section 29 of the Doctrine and Covenants, the Lord outlines that no commandment he gives is for temporal needs, but all is for eternal purposes. Ava Whiteman, a professor of the Marriott School of Business here at BYU, takes that idea and expounds upon it and says the commandment to pursue education, no matter how temporally useful, is really about the development of our spirits and our spiritual gifts. So God wants us to think about our education like a key so we can unlock those spiritual gifts and the talents that he has given us. The third reason has something to do with something called the role model effect. Educated women are better role models than uneducated women. There was a study done in India with MIT researchers, and they studied 2 villages, one of which had female members of leaders in their local community, while the other had male leaders, only male leaders. And this MIT group studied both of these villages and asked them their educational aspirations for their women in their society. The first group was 25% more likely to have educational aspirations for their daughters, while the second village was 45% less likely to have those same aspirations. So what this tells us is that educated women who become leaders in their society influence the daughters, the women and parents in their society to have those educational goals for their daughters. And by continuing your education, you can unlock your intellects and become those leaders for your daughters and the women in your community. Malala Yousafzai, a women's rights activist, once said that we cannot succeed when half of us are held back. And by refusing to finish your education, you are holding half of society back. So what can we do about this problem? For the women in the room, finish your degree. You're already here at BYU. You're already in the place you need to be, so just finish. I know it's a sacrifice of time and money. It's one I'm currently making. But isn't it worth it to find out the talents and intellect God wants for you? For the men in the room, have these conversations with your girlfriends, your sisters, your fiancés, and help them realize that marriage doesn't have to be the end of their educational aspirations, but they can continue on. In sum, education should be viewed as a key, because a man is not a financial plan. Education is a commandment, and educated women serve as better role models in their community. Because education is not a ticket.